think the most salient thing that was been said here yet today is that we don't really know what's happening in our schools. And here we are, a bunch of, looks like guys. Anyhow, we're looking at, most of us are just, we don't have any idea. And if I may, I don't, the protocol here, I guess the rhetorical question I'll ask is, why are we doing this? And so, if I may, Mr. Chairman, may I pose a question to Representative Skelton now? Is that appropriate for you?
That would be great, because I really prefer not to answer any
questions.
questions.
I understand. Well, Representative Skelton, first of all, I appreciate you. And I appreciate your service here, and I appreciate your well-intended. I just don't get some stuff. So you're going to help educate me just a little bit, so I can try to figure all this out. You've said along the way that we have done this, and we want this. And can I understand who we is? Is it just you, or is it the group of legislators, or is it other organizations outside? So who's we?
I started it. I've gotten some cooperation from the campaign to prevent teen pregnancy. And I discussed it with a number of different people. I use we in the vernacular of more than one person, but if you want it to be just me, it can be just me.
Okay, no, that's fine. I sometimes just try to, you talked about being a mediator for all of those years and trying to figure it out. I was a consultant for many of those 30 years and better. And so you always walk into a place and you try to be helpful, try to find out what the problem is, and try to find the reasonable answers to things. And that's sort of what we do here and what you've done in your lifetime. So I'm trying to figure out in the 25 years that this has been in place, can I grant you that teen pregnancies, these are all real issues that we need to look at and try to fix. I get that, and I'm all about that. I have a daughter, I have a granddaughter that's 5, and so that's just being responsible adults here trying to do the right thing. What I'm trying to understand is what's wrong with what we've been doing for 25 years. I mean, I understand the results may not be where we want them to be, but look at our traffic laws as an example. We have great traffic laws. Boy, do we have them. And people are wrecking every day all over the place and not doing the right things, and we all know that. So what's wrong with the bill that we have right now, so I understand what the problem is?
Well, I'll tell you what's wrong. And I don't mean to be flip or anything like that, but when you have almost 60% of high school seniors graduating say they've had sexual relations, when you have teen pregnancy at the level that it is, even though it's been going down since about 1990, some attribute it to one thing, some attribute it to others. I attribute a lot of it to Google because my niece tells me you could Google anything, and I think perhaps they've gotten more information. But I've always felt that more information is better than less if you're making crucial decisions that are going to impact you for the rest of your life. Now, you may not have observed a teenager who has had a child and the impact they've had on that child, but my sole objective is to, are you familiar with the term premature identity foreclosure?
No, sir.
Okay. Premature identity foreclosure is a term that's used in educational circles, and essentially it's something like this. Don't tell a kid they're dumb. Don't tell a kid they're stupid because they begin to believe they are and they act like it. Well, what we do when we do not do anything about teen pregnancy, we foreclose the opportunity for those people who get pregnant from having a life that could be more productive than it would be with a child, a life that might provide opportunities to them that they otherwise could not have. And the fact that almost 60% of the seniors graduating have had sex, and a large percent have had, too large a percent have had babies, is proof enough that what we're doing is not right. It's not enough. And so even if we only cut the teen pregnancy rate by 2 or 3 or 1% or 5%, then I'm satisfied with the outcome. And I think this bill will move in the direction of doing that. Now, you may disagree. You may not think so.
No, sir. Representative Skelton, let me sort of continue this, and I'm not trying to be combative, I'm trying to get to the, sort of the essence of all of this. But to use that, I mean, you didn't tell me what's wrong with the curriculum that we teach or the teachers. You told me that the end result is 60% of seniors say they've had sex and teen pregnancy numbers, all of that. Back to my auto accidents, you know, clearly our road laws aren't good enough. We need more stringent road laws and much more policing and all of this, because the death rate in South Carolina and the drunken driving rate is, we all know those kind of statistics, and the motorcyclists and all of that, and I ride. So, I mean, I'm trying to understand what's wrong with the curriculum, not the results, but when you look at the curriculum, what's wrong with it? I mean, what do we need to fix specifically, point by point?
In some cases, abstinence only is the only curriculum that is taught.
Really?
And so, some people don't have the information that they need, I think, to make responsible decisions. And, look, most of us have made decisions in our life that impacted us, that we just as soon not be in the public domain. I'm not going to address any of mine, but,
Please do, sir.
but we need to, I just think that we need to address the issue of teen pregnancy in a real world. To be quite honest with you, I discussed this with my niece. We had a birthday dinner Sunday. And she said, abstinence only is fine if you're abstinent. I said, in the real world, that ain't the case. So what people need information to know what the consequences are of their activities if they're not going to be abstinent. And we have plenty of proof around the world that abstinence doesn't work. If abstinence worked, we wouldn't have any DUIs. If abstinence worked, we wouldn't have any obesity.
Well,
If abstinence worked, we wouldn't have any teenage pregnancies. So if that's not the only solution, and I'm just trying to go a little bit beyond that.
okay, well, I guess that's the first time I've heard the abstinence only issue is really the issue. I mean,
No, that's not the issue. We're not attacking. We believe, or I believe, that abstinence only is the best way to prevent teen pregnancy and the best way to prevent STDs. And this bill doesn't change it, and Chairman Patrick's amendment doesn't change that.
Representative, you said that, I think in your original testimony, you said that you hadn't been in the schools and seen the firsthand, no, I understand you're a professor and all that, but you hadn't seen firsthand the sex education course being taught in public schools.
No, I haven't.
Well, nor have I, and I've been pestered by this, and little time when you're in the legislature to go rush off to volunteer to go sit in the 3rd grade or 6th grade class or wherever they have, you know, wherever these are, but.
Well, it's not taught in the 3rd grade.
Well, okay, but we're ignorant, and that's my problem. I don't know what's being taught. I heard the testimony that came up here a few weeks back, and it was sort of all over the place, and a little startling in some cases. And so I kept saying, what is it we're actually doing? And I don't even know the consistency. I'm calling for another study committee, please. But somehow we need to know what's going on. And I wish that, you know, that any member here sat in on any of these classes at any point. I'd love to hear from them and tell me what they thought of it being taught. So if we're trying to cure something that I don't know, you know, and I'm that fellow that wants to look at something and see it firsthand so I can experience it. But not done that. And I'll tell you, I'll reserve the rest of my questions. I have plenty more. I know the other members are tired of hearing, so they can go ahead.
Everybody except for Representative Brown has a question.
Well, he has a list, and I'm looking at it right there.
Representative Wells is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My comments was going to go right along with Representative Taylor's. Going back to the original subcommittee hearing that we had on this issue, we had a lady, and I believe she may have been from Anderson, who spoke of from somewhere in the upstate, that spoke on the sex ed program that they had within their county, which sounded to me pretty comprehensive. It sounded like a great program, and that they were making great strides up there with that program. currently, they are doing that with the same state laws that's on the books today. They're doing that under that guideline, it just happens to be their county that's doing it.
No, it's a school district.
Well, it's a school district that's doing it, which could be per county, or you could have more than one in each county. But that is the local school board that's doing that, or their district. To me, when we're talking about something, just as Representative Taylor said, and none of us have sat in on that, on what they teach in our individual school districts, we don't know what they teach. We don't know how effective it is. And so and even the amendment that you have crafted, Representative Patrick, I think is as tight and solid as it can be. A lot of thought was put into this, and it's very evident from that standpoint, to ensure that if we mandate this from a state level, that it's going to be a very tightly run program. I just don't feel comfortable in telling individual school districts what they need to be teaching their children. I don't know what they teach their children in the school district in Charleston. I can find out what they teach in the Aiken County School District by going to my local board. I think a lot of this responsibility, rather than lying with us legislators in the State House, a lot of this weight needs to be placed upon those school board members and those individual districts. I don't know.
Not until after I comment.
I don't know, and Representative Skelton and I have discussed his amendment that started today, which, by the way, I've received both of these amendments today, and have not had a tremendous amount of time to digest either one of them with everything else that's going on. But trying to look at them and discuss with each of the authors of these amendments, a lot of our teen pregnancy does not happen because they've not been taught about contraception. It happens because in the heat of the moment, they make a bad decision and they have to live with those consequences. I would like to see a study of the 60% of high school students who participate in sexual activity. How many of them and what do they know about protection and contraception? And from that standpoint, maybe we could gauge, is this indeed a problem? Or does our problem lie deeper? Thank you.
If it's okay, Representative Skelton, I'll address one of the points that Representative Wells made, and then open it back up to you. You know, I struggle with this same question of, you know, what we should be doing from here versus what local school boards and school districts do back home. And I join you. I don't want to be driving down policy, you know, but I mean, we are here to develop statewide education policy. And this does not dictate what curriculum is taught in schools. Those decisions are made by local school boards. They have committees that make those decisions, and Representative Skelton can correct me if I'm wrong. But to go back to, you know, we have a responsibility in this General Assembly to appropriate monies. And one of the most important functions of state government is education. We spend a lot of money, state money, taxpayer money, on education from here. And so, to some extent, I think in order for us to develop policy that is going to ensure comprehensive education or the best education regardless of the subject matter, we do have a responsibility to understand exactly what is taking place in our schools. And we don't know. And I go back, I know that I've referenced it now at least twice, to that study on a simple question. Where are you with implementing Common Core standards? And are you on track to with the law. And only 50% of the school districts responded. Now, if you're trying to make a policy decision on, you know, education-related policy, how are you supposed to do that if the school districts that, you know, are out there executing that policy aren't responding to your requests? I think that, I think there has to be some level of accountability that is administered by the state to make sure that everybody is on the same sheet of music. And, you know, I agree with you, that testimony that was offered by that school teacher that's actually in the classroom in Anderson County, whatever school district she works for, you know, her testimony was that, you know, they're doing everything consistent with what the law was. But the other testimony provided would suggest that there are other people in other school districts that aren't. And I think that that's probably the case with a lot of other subjects, is, you know, one's doing it one way, another's doing it one way, and a different way, and you may argue, well, that's, you know, those are local decisions that are made. And maybe, you know, from a philosophical standpoint, you're 100% right on this issue. You know, should we be doing anything more than what we're already doing? But, you know, I think that this is a pretty important issue, and on one side, you know, I certainly am as concerned about the issue of teen pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases as everybody else sitting around this table. But as important as that, I want what's being taught in the classroom to be consistent with the laws that are passed by this body. And some of the testimony offered during that subcommittee hearing would suggest otherwise. That there are people teaching things in the classroom that aren't consistent with the laws that have been passed by this body.